Hello, guys. I'm really excited to be here. First of all, if you can hear me, please send me a chat, an internal chat, to know that you guys can hear me. And perfect. Cool. And I'm going to share my screen. Cool. Please let me know if you guys can see my keynote presentation. Okay, let me see. Perfect. Okay, great. So yeah, as Ali was saying, today is the first workshop of 4 workshops that we're going to do through the whole month of November in the Sound and Fiction Festival in Bahrain, in this digital version of this festival. My name is Leonardo Rojas, aka Fo. That's my artist name. And I'm a Ableton Certified Trainer. And today we're going to see the topic of randomized music. Great. But before we start, allow me to introduce myself correctly. So again, my name is Leonardo Rojas, aka Fo. I'm a Colombian turntablist DJ. That means that I'm a scratch DJ. I've been doing this for over 17 years. But besides the turntablist side, I'm a producer. I've been working in both works since 2003. That means that I've been involved 17 years too in the production. Also, I'm an Ableton Certified Trainer. Oh, sorry, Ableton Certified Trainer. I was certified in 2017. And yeah, it's been really interesting to be part of the certified trainer family. Also, I'm a 2-type Red Bull 3-style national champion. For the people that are online that don't know what's the Red Bull 3-style, the Red Bull 3-style is the biggest DJ competition in the world. It was created since 2010. And I was 2-time world finalist in Chicago and Vancouver, Canada. And I've been involved with them since then, since 2011. That was when I won my first championship. Also, I work for a company called Pioneer DJ. Probably you know this company. They make CD players, they make mixers, headphones. If you're related with music or DJing, probably you know this brand. And I am a business developer and I work as a product specialist for them. I help them to create products. So yeah. Also, I'm a teacher in an academy called Turntable DJ Academy, which is a joint venture with SA Dubai. I'm a teacher there. I'm an instructor there for Ableton Live and DJing. So yeah, that's basically my credentials. Right here you have my socials. My Instagram and Twitter is DJ Fo. My Facebook page is DJ Fo Colombia. And my YouTube channel is DJ Fo, DJ PS Show. So if you have any inquiry about Ableton Live or Pioneer DJ of, I don't know, maybe Turntable DJ Academy, let's be friends and connect through those socials. Okay, with any further ado, let's see what's randomized music. Randomized music, let's see the concept. Randomized music or aleatoric music is music in which some elements or all the elements of the composition are left to the chance. Okay, let's do it again. Randomized music or aleatory music is music in which some elements or all elements of the composition are left to the chance. This means that technically you don't have control of this because you don't have control of the random. You don't have control of the chance. So with this process, you can have accidents. Sometimes you can have happy accidents. Sometimes you don't have, so happy accidents. But at the end of the day, it's not something that it's really, if you made a mistake in this process, it's not a tragedy, you know, it's just music because it's art. So yeah, in this case, randomized music is just left to the chance. However, there's another concept that you could find in the internet called probabilistic music. The probabilistic music uses mathematical randomness to generate numeric combinations that create music. This is basically one of the methods to generate randomized music or aleatory music. Okay, so if you find this concept, don't get confused. Probabilistic music is related with randomized music, but it's a method to, you know, that is classified inside randomized music. Great. Let's see a couple of examples of the history of this process. First of all, there's this track from 1951 by John Cage called Music of Changes. So I'm going to show you a little bit of this track, which was made all with random process. Please let me know if you can hear the track. Awesome. So this track is basically, it was composed a random process. And unfortunately, we don't have a lot of time in this workshop, so I can't show you the whole track. We can't analyze the whole track. But this is an example. This is an example of what is a randomized process to create music. Cool. We have another example by a guy that you probably know. His name was Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. Yeah, probably know this guy. And he created a track called Musical Dice Game, which is the translation for this word in German. Sorry, my German is so bad. And this track was made in 1787. The reason I didn't put this track first, because technically this was first, you know, following the chronology. This track will be the first track of, you know, the first song or the first composition to use randomized process, is because technically it's not a randomized process. So actually John Cage, the Music of Changes by John Cage, is considered as the first composition with random process. However, as Mozart used a dice to create the composition, he was using an algorithmic element like a dice, because technically a dice is an algorithm. You throw a dice and you receive some input. He used this input to compose the song, but he filtered some of the information. So he didn't leave everything to the chance. So that's why I used John Cage first. Let's hear Mozart's song composition, which is here. As you can hear, there's a more coherent chord progression and exploration of the melody and harmony. Cool. Also, in the early 1900s in Europe, with the avant-garde movement, the use of random process to create, they call it random chaos. And it was used in painting, poetry, with a technique called exquisite curves, which was a very used technique by the surrealists like Dali or Man Ray, Dali, Man Ray, Buñuel. And obviously they use this whole technique to create music. Also, there's evidence that Marcel Duchamp, the artist, he made randomized music. Even if he was an artist, a painter, he made a couple of randomized music songs. Also, a guy called Thom Yorke, probably you know him for his project Right Ahead. He used a randomized process to create lyrics in the album Key Day, but most recently, in the album Anima, he created tracks using randomized process. You can see this a short film in Netflix by this album, and he uses a lot of randomized process. Let's see here. This is one of the tracks. This is a more modern sound of the, to use this randomized process.
Yeah.
Great. And we have another example. Well, we have FX Twin, which is a popular artist from the 90s, and he's still relevant. Boards of Canada, they also made an amazing album, and it was whole made with random process. And we have this band, which is called JACT, that stands for Young American Challenging High Technology. They also use this process. So I can't, for the short time that we have, I can't show you all the examples, but yeah, if you type these names in Google or YouTube, you're going to find all these albums and listen carefully to understand how they work with this randomized process. Cool. So thinking about this, I was, maybe I was thinking that perhaps the creativity is the randomized result of electrical impulses, or neurons are sending these electrical impulses. And probably these impulses are randomized situations that are going on in our head, and that's where ideas come from. So what are we going to do today with Ableton Live is maybe an analogy of how our brain creates ideas. But also, it's important to know which rules we can break. So let's know the rules to know which rules we can break in this randomized process. Sometimes some people believe that it's just throw in, randomized elements and let the machine to do all the work. I think this is more a conversation between the machine and the producer behind the machine. So let's know the rules to know which rules we can break. Awesome. And let's see the randomized process in Ableton Live 10. Okay, everyone is watching my Ableton Live 10 screen. Let me know through the chat. Okay, so great, thank you. Okay, so we have here Ableton Live 10. I hope that the viewers, have some experience with the software, because I'm gonna go like really kind of, well, this is not like an advanced, but I hope you understand basic the concepts of the software. So I'm going to create first randomized chords. I'm going to start creating, well, not creating, well, yes, creating a randomized process, using randomized process to create the harmony, some chords. So to get in the mood, I like to start using a drum loop. I'm gonna use this one. I'm gonna slow a little bit the tempo here. Cool. Why do I use the drum? Can you see my Ableton screen? Oh, hold on. Now can you see it, right? Sorry about this. Sorry. Can you hear me? Can you hear the track? Yes, awesome. Okay, perfect. So I always use a loop instead of using the metronome because that gets me into the, you know, into the zone, into the workflow. So I'm going to use this loop. Great. Okay, this is an audio loop that I just drag and drop into Ableton Live's session view. So to start this process, we need to create, we need to use an instrument. And I'm going to use this instrument called Adornable. I'm going to drag and drop here. Great. And this is the sound of the instrument. I'm going to play it here with my push 2. Okay. So I need to create or to send some input, some MIDI information to this instrument. So for this, I'm going to create 3 MIDI tracks. I'm going to right-click here and say Insert MIDI track, or press Command-Shift-T. If you are a PC user, you can use Control-Shift-T. And I'm going to create 4 MIDI tracks. We have it here. Awesome. So I'm going to select all these 4 tracks, MIDI tracks, holding Shift key, and I'm going to group them, pressing Command-G. Now it's a group, or right-click and you can group it. I'm going to show you how. You can group here, group tracks, or Command-G, or if you're a PC user, Control-G. Cool. So I'm going to change the color of this, right-click. Let's keep it maybe in a green. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, cool. So this 3 MIDI clips, MIDI tracks, I'm going to name them triggers because those are going to be my MIDI triggers to my instrument. So this is trigger 1. This is going to be trigger 2. And this is going to be trigger 3. Cool. Okay. So we have these 3 triggers, and this MIDI is going to be my MIDI bus. What is going to happen right now is that these 3 triggers are going to send MIDI information to this MIDI bus. How can I do that? I just hold Shift, select the 3 MIDI tracks, and right here, where I find the MIDI to menu, I'm going to say, hey, please send this to MIDI bus. So right now, these 3 MIDI tracks are sending MIDI to the MIDI bus. Okay? And now, I'm going to send the MIDI bus information to my instrument Adornable. So I'm going to tell to the MIDI bus, hey, please send information to Adornable. So basically, what we just did is create these patches to send MIDI information. Great. I'm going to create a clip in the trigger 1, double click, and I'm going to draw a note, a MIDI note in the C3 here. Okay, that's cool. So if I click this clip, technically, all the information should be received by this instrument, but nothing is happening. Why? Because I need to allow to this track to send the information. So I need to be in, and also the instrument, it needs to be in. So now it's able to receive the MIDI information. Now let's hear it. We can see that this MIDI clip is sending information to the bus, and the bus is sending information to the instrument. If I change this to auto, immediately I'm not receiving any input. So that's why I need to enable here in the input. Awesome. Okay, so what I'm going to do is create 3 clips. I'm going to create this one, which is already there, but I'm going to change the length. Right now, I have 1 bar, and I'm going to create 1 bar plus 1 beat. That's good. The second clip in the trigger 2 track, I'm going to select again the C3 note, but I'm going to, okay, put it here. And the length of this one, of this clip, is going to be 1 bar plus 3 beats. And the third clip, I'm going to draw this note here, probably. Notice that I'm doing this like randomly. It doesn't matter actually where you're going to draw this. And I'm going to make this clip 1 bar, 2 beats, and let's add 2 quarters. Okay. So basically, if I click the scene here, these 3 clips are going to start sending the C3 note in a different rhythm, because this one is playing at 1 bar plus 1 beat. This one is playing 1 bar plus 3 beats, and this one is playing 1 bar plus 2 beats and 2 quarters. So let's see what's happening. Okay. Okay, so we're receiving this kind of random rhythm, but we are receiving the same note, which is C3. Okay, so we need to use a couple of interesting elements called MIDI effects. We can find the MIDI effects in the browser. We have to click here. And if we go here, we have all these MIDI effects. And we have a very interesting MIDI effect called random. And the interesting thing about this is that I can apply the random to my MIDI bus. So my MIDI bus is going to control all the randomness because I'm receiving the information from these 3 triggers, right? So the MIDI effect random has 3 knobs. This first knob is the amount of probability that I want to have. So if I increase this, I'm going to have a 75% of chance of have a random note. But this knob is telling me how many choices I'm going to give to Ableton Live to choose. So if I select 1 choice, technically nothing's going to happen, because even if I have a big chance, the only choices or options are 1. So if I play this, right? But if I increase the chance and I increase the choices, let's say 12, which is 1 octave, he's going to start sending randomized notes because he has 12 choices. Let's take a look. Okay. Okay. So we have these two buttons. We have the button add. This button is telling to this guy, okay, go up. So you can have 12 notes from the next octave. But if I select sub, it's going to select 12 notes from below. So from the lower octave. So let's take a look. Cool. I'm going to use add. Oh, if we use B, we're going to have both. So we can have add or sub. In this case, I'm going to use add. I'm going to increase a little bit the chance. And as you can hear, I'm having a randomized process right now because I'm not playing the notes. It's just playing these clips with different length. But I want to control this. I want to have a key of this, you know, because I'm not making, in this case, a tonal music. I want to create like some chord progression. So what I'm going to do is use another MIDI effect called scale, which is right here, right below random. And I'm going to add it here in the MIDI bus. So right now we have two effects, the random and we have a scale, okay? So the scale is going to filter the notes that I'm not going to use in a scale. Let's say that I want to use a C minor scale. So I'm going to open this menu. I have a couple of presets. Let's use the C minor scale. So what it's going to happen now is that the randomized device is going to send random MIDI notes, but in the C minor scale. So it's not going to be so chaotic. Let's take a look. Okay. That makes more sense compared with just the random device. And also you can change here the scale. So if you, sorry, the key, if you move this knob, you can select if you want a D or you want E. So let's try, I don't know, let's try with F. Okay. So basically we are playing with the F minor scale. Great. But as I said it before, I want to create some chord progression. So also inside the MIDI effects, we have a MIDI effect called chord. So basically what a chord does, I'm going to add it right in front of the C minor of the scale MIDI effect, is going to play different semitones. So we're playing in F. And if I shift this knob, it's going to play the next semitone. In this case, it will be F sharp. If I move this knob, it's going to be right now a G. So if I play this, it's going to play a chord. So I can change this to create chords. So this is going to be the second semitone from the key note, from the F. This is going to be the third semitone. Cool. But if I go to the core MIDI effect, if I click here, and I have a couple of MIDI presets, I'm going to use this house chord to go, which is the standard basic house chord that uses the third semitone, the seventh semitone, and one octave lower from the tonic, from the key semitone, from the key. So let's hear what happens. Cool. Nice. So now I'm having these happy accidents going on. A couple of them are good. A couple of them, they're not as good as the others, but we are, having some interesting results. So how can I have this information? How can I print this MIDI information? It's easy. So since my MIDI bus is sending the MIDI information to my instrument at Turnable, the only thing that I need to do is arm this track and press record here. Cool. So we had these different chord progressions. However, as you can see, these chords are kind of short, right? I mean, like the length is not that long. So I want to increase the length of this. And what I'm going to do is stop this clip. I'm going to return to my MIDI bus. And I'm going to go to my MIDI effects again. And we're going to select this MIDI effect called note length. I'm going to drag and drop here in the MIDI bus. And what this is going to do is it's going to extend the length of my MIDI notes. So if I reduce this, are going to be shorter notes. If I increase this, cool. So I'm going to record this again with this MIDI with note length. I'm going to record here. Cool. So we have this random process here right now. As you can see, this first attempt is so different from this one. So that's like the exciting thing about this process. It's only a one thing, only happened one thing, and that's it. So I'm going to work with this, but first of all, I need to stop this MIDI bus, because if I play this, he is going to send this information, and I'm going to have the input of the MIDI bus plus the notes that are already printed. So it's going to sound weird. If I press play here, so I'm going to stop this MIDI bus. I'm going to remove the in, and I'm going to create a 4-bar loop. No, let's do that 2-bar loop, and I'm going to start tracking which happy accidents works for me. Okay, that's kind of cool. Let's see another one here. Because, for creating chords, you need repetition. Okay, let's see here what we have here. of housey thing. Let's select this one here. What about this one? Okay, I think I'm going to use this one. I have to move this for the first part. Oh, hold on, there you go. That's why. So I'm going to help this one. I'm going to send this one on the back and this one on the back. Okay, that makes more sense. Awesome. Great. So now I have this chord progression, and now I want to create some MIDI MIDI drums, some randomized process to create MIDI drums. So for that, I'm going to use these pads. This kit is called 64 pads. So what I'm going to do is create this MIDI clip. So right now I have the chord progression, right? So if I play, okay, I kind of like that. And I'm going to create a clip here in this kit. And something that is really important in this randomized rhythm process, because right now we're talking about rhythm, it's that we need a concept of periodicity. This means that we need an element that repeats periodically, and that way our brain is going to understand that there's something going on there that creates this backbone in our head. So I can select this hi-hat. I'm going to create this hi-hat periodicity here. Right? And using this as a platform, I can create randomly anything around that. So I'm going to press these MIDI notes as a crazy. You know, I don't know what I'm doing actually. So let's see what happens. Cool. It's kind of making sense, but I want to show you if I remove this element. Let's see what happens. It started making sense after a while, but if you apply this element of periodicity in the hi-hat, let me bring it back. Let's see what happens. There you go. But let's make this more interesting, because right now I create this pseudo randomized process because I didn't know what I did here. It was a random process, but let's create this talking with the machine. And for this, I'm going to use my friend again from MIDI effects, my friend Random, and I'm going to apply it here in my 64 pads. Again, I'm going to increase the chance, and I'm going to filter the choices to 12. That's the reason that I use this 64 pads kit, because he is going to have 64 options to select. If I only have probably a 16 kit, he's going to trigger at some point just silence. And that's not the case that we want to do right now. So that's what I choose, a 64 pads kit. You can have a 128 pads kit. So yeah, that's the reason. And also I'm going to mute this kick, and I'm going to silence the kick because I have already a kick. So probably it's going to sound too loud. So, okay. So right now I'm going to play the track with this randomized element. Let's see what happens. Let's increase the chance. Let's see what happens if I increase the choices. Awesome. So how can I print this into a MIDI clip? Again, right click or Command Shift T, create a MIDI track. And here I'm going to receive the MIDI from, yes, you guessed right, 64 path. I arm this track and I play and record this. So this is the whole randomized drums that are sent by my random MIDI effect. Cool. So I'm going to put this clip here, and I'm going to turn off my randomizer, and I can hear this printed MIDI clip. Awesome. Okay. Okay, we don't have enough time, so I'm going to show you really fast how can I create a melody using the information that we already have from the machine. So I'm going to use a lead sound, which I like this one, sorry lead. I'm going to drag and drop here, and I'm going to select the same clip that I'm using with my chords. I'm holding Alt to duplicate, and I'm going to drag and drop here. I'm going to change the color, maybe to, don't get confused. Or I can press this and assign track color to the clips. There you go. And since I have these notes that I'm sharing with my harmony, I can press this button called Fold, and I can start creating a melody using these notes. Notice that I'm not like doing like a conscious process. I'm just moving things randomly. And let's see what happens if I press this. So I'm going to start throwing more notes here because I know all these notes are in my scale. Okay, I like kind of like that. Cool. So they have that melody, but also there's a really nice pack that if you have Ableton Live 10 Suite, you can find that pack. It's called Probability Pack. It's right here. And there's a very interesting instrument called Dr. Chaos. But for that, I'm going to create a new MIDI track, and I'm going to drag and drop Dr. Chaos here. So Dr. Chaos is basically a Max for Live device that helps to create arpeggios using a randomized process. So this is actually a randomized generator. And for this, I need an instrument. So I'm going to select, again, my Saru lead keys. My Saru lead, sorry. I'm going to drag and drop here. I'm going to mute my first melody. And I can select the key that I want to work here. So we are working in F, right? And the scale is F minor. Sorry, I have the zoom menu here. Okay, F minor here. And if I press play, it's creating this random arpeggio. The cool thing about this is that I have this dice icon. It's a dice, like Mozart used to do like 300 years ago. So if I click this dice, he's going to create a random sequence by itself. If I increase the amount of chaos, and I can change the rate here. Now I'm playing in 1/8. Okay. So let's hear what happened with the chords. Cool. Okay, let's see what happened with our pseudo randomized melody. I'm going to enable this, and I'm going to split this melody to the left and this to the right to see what happens. Yeah, guys, so that's like a very basic process using Randomized. There's a lot of softwares, of plugins that you can use inside Ableton Live to generate this interesting process. Is basically what it is. Again, there's no do or don'ts here. There's actually like, how can I do, or how can I achieve something that I have in my mind, speaking with the machine. So yeah, again, the time is not our friend today. So I think, Ali, if you're there, I think we can start the Q&A section. If you have some questions. Yeah, so I don't know if Ali is there. Okay, great. So if you have some questions or comments, please type in the chat. Yeah, if you have some, I don't know, inquiries. I'm going to play the track meanwhile. Awesome. Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah. Yeah, so, okay, so I have the questions here. Deep, he's asking if can I apply this to another track as well. Oh, Deepak. Oh yeah, how are you, Deepak? So yes, you can apply this, but if you're using a sampler or a simpler, because because we're using MIDI effects, so we need to apply this to a MIDI information, but we can send this to a simpler. Let's do it really fast. I'm going to select. Okay, hold on. I'm going to select here. Let's have a couple of samples here. Let's find some vocals. Cool. I'm going to use this one. Cool. And I'm going to use the I'm going to put this to don't forget it. I'm going to apply the simpler instrument here. Where is it? Oh, there you go, simpler. And I'm going to drag and drop this here. And I'm going to use the slice mode here. And now I have these slices of the track. I'm going to increase the fade to, have a softer way to do it, to release the sample. Here I can change the semitones. The only thing is that I need to know the key of this track, of this sample. I know it's in E minor. So I can change it to, we're working in F, right? So I need to change one semitone up, right? And I can apply, let's say, I'm going to go here. Where's here? I'm going to create one note. Where is it? Cool. And I'm going to apply my MIDI effects. I'm going to apply, let's say, the random. But now I can create the whole process again, or I can create different sequence here. And I can change the chance. Okay. I hope that somehow answered the question. Okay. Awesome. Cool. So another question, can you randomize an input like a record guitar and maybe vocals too? Well, yeah, you can do it in this way, sampling the audio into a simpler or a sampler. You can do it also with the sampler, which is here in the instruments. But I really like the simpler because you can chop it. Also, you can do something here interesting. If you select by transients, you can select how many transients do you want. So you can change, if you increase the sensitivity, you're gonna have more MIDI notes to trigger. If you reduce it, you're gonna have less notes. So I'm gonna play this with a 42%. As you can see, it's less crazy. So if I increase this, a good advice for this is just to increase here I have here a reverberation by Valhalla, a reverb. So you're gonna have like, okay, awesome. Yeah, so let's see, we have more questions. Okay. Where's my menu? Okay, cool. So there's a question about how can you warp the tracks to manual DJing. Let's wait. If we don't have more questions about the topic of today and we have more time, we can answer your question, but it's actually just drag and drop the track and warp it. I recommend you to use WAV files because the MP3 sometimes, if you don't have an MP3 quality file, it's hard to, the Ableton can read it, but sometimes the quality, if you have a better quality file, you can have a better analysis, phase analysis for your tracks to DJ. But we can do actually eventually create a workshop about this topic. So do we have more comments? Oh yeah. Okay, Kaiden. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think Ali, if you're okay with this, I think we can wrap up right now.
Yeah, just to quickly again say thank you, Leo, for this wonderful presentation. It was very insightful and very fascinating. I'm sure the guys also found a lot of interesting stuff. So thank you for your time, and thanks for everyone for tuning in. Just a quick recap. We have more workshops with Leo coming up every Tuesday, 7 p.m. Bahrain time, 8 p.m. Dubai time. You can find the next topics on our social media. So please just follow up, and hopefully we'll see you again Tuesday.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, if you have more questions, if you have more comments about this topic, because we're going to have different topics in the next 3 workshops. Yeah, don't hesitate to get in touch with me in my Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. So
Fantastic.
Again, thank you, Ali, for having me here in the Sound of Fiction Fest. And let's see next week.
All right. All right. Thank you guys again. And good night.
Okay.
Signing
Bye, guys.
off. Okay. Bye-bye.